There'll be a lot of deals made.
Well, you've been saying that for 3 years now, but I mean, it looks like
And there have been.
they're zeroing in on Brennan quite nicely now. There have been
That's a good move.
several
He is
people.
such a sparkling target.
Oh my God, that Lurch face. You remember Lurch from was it the Addams Family?
Sure do. Yeah, Adams Family.
What a
Mysterious and spooky. We're out together. Hooky, the Adams Family. Hey.
Yeah, he's got that look.
Yeah,
It looks like
he has, hasn't he?
He frankly should have been cast in Frankenstein. Couldn't you see him in like Young Frankenstein with like
Sure.
faux bolts attached to his neck and forehead? He's a fucking piece of work, man.
Yeah, he is. He is. He really is. Oh, well. CIA's done better.
Hello, beautiful people. I am Oliver Perrin for Semiagog, speaking today with Mr. Tim Rudisil from the elevated mountainous regions of the eastern parts of Tennessee. And the subject of our discussion today will be nothing. Before we get on to that very, very interesting topic of nothing, in which you will be excited to join us and watch us and participate to whatever extent in hearing us talk about nothing, I should say that there are two channels, both Semiagog and A Safer Space. You can watch them on BitChute. You can watch them on YouTube. There's also Minds. There's Gab. There is Twitter. And for those who wish to support the channel, there is Subscribestar and GoFundMe. For those who do support the channel, for those who do support the channel, all of the credit.
Folded money.
And none of the blame. And for those who wish to send me things that are both legal and moral, you can send them to my post office box, 16006, Atlanta, Georgia, 30316. But I have to say that going to the post office these days has been something of an adventure.
Hell, man. 6 feet and between people and just all kinds of stuff going on at the post office.
Yes.
It's all happening at the zoo or the post office or somewhere.
Yeah. People in their masks, the varieties.
Yeah. Just be sure you send something fairly negotiable.
Yes. Thank you, Tim. And
that folded money is the way to go.
And thank you, kind viewers, for bearing with us through that phase of introduction. And now we can turn to our topic, which, as I said, is nothing. I have this sense that there's nothing to talk about because, God damn it, I don't just want to talk about coronavirus again or the absence of coronavirus or all the ways in which the coronavirus hysteria.
How do I love thee? Let me count the ways.
Yes. Yeah, rough winds to shake the darling buds. Okay, yeah, I don't remember the sonnet entirely.
Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and all too oft is summer's eye o'ercast with a sickly cast of gray.
There we are.
Lovely. There you are.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Thou art more lovely and more temperate.
Yes, and he didn't have to Google it.
No, I didn't.
So, yeah, I don't want to talk about coronavirus, and yet, doubtless, even in the process of talking about nothing, that will come up. So where do we start this consideration of what's been going on since we last spoke? Does anything immediately come to mind for you, Tim?
Well, certainly. Certainly it does, Ollie. The very thing that's of any importance at all. Not the coronavirus itself, but the effects of the coronavirus.
Indeed.
It shut down the world economy, did it not?
Well, it's certainly put a dent in it that you're not going to be able to fill with Bondo. Yeah.
But you could fill it with the debt of various countries, could you not?
I sense you have a trajectory here.
I have a trajectory here. Mm-hmm. Yes, I have a trajectory.
Would this have something to do with debt held by China, with U.S.
Yes, it
debt
would.
held by China?
Yes, another form of debt entrapment. They have billions of dollars, trillions really, worth of our debt that they purchased. They have trillions of dollars worth of Italy's debt, France's debt, everybody's debt, because everybody's been happy to sell it to them.
It's almost as though they have a huge portfolio filled with nothing. And it does occur to me, I'll give this away. I have some intimation of where it is Tim is going with all of this, kind viewers.
Tee-hee.
And I do, at this point, knowing where he's going with this, think that it would be appropriate to bring up the fact that Tim had in the past pointed out to me that one of Trump's great strengths is the way in which he plays the too big to fail card when he's holding, or when other people who are very important are his creditors. And he's used it. I mean, there are a number of cases in the past where he was going to go under and he had to renegotiate his debt. And he found ways to force everyone to do that.
You want it in the red column or you want it in the black column, guys? It's up to you. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, but renegotiate for me or else I can destroy you utterly.
Yeah, they held too much of his debt. Oh, my God. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing here. On top of which, he's also got them with the tariffs.
Them being the Chinese, ladies and gentlemen, if you hadn't caught up.
Is there anybody else in the world we need to worry about? Ha, 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 ha. I believe the phrase is, Trump's got them where he wants them. Over the barrel, with their wee-wee hanging down for the koi to come out.
With what? Their wee-wee hanging down with what?
For the koi to come after. You know, those big goldfish things.
Right. With their pecker hanging in the koi pond.
That's it.
God. This is going to be a great discussion. I took a nap, ladies and gentlemen, that didn't work out well, and I overslept our call start time, and my synapses are not quite firing properly, and so I'm in a perfect state to be hit with these little gems of Tim's. So, yes, it would seem that the stage is being set.
Oh, my God.
It seems the stage is being set for China to, what's the expression, take it in the neck? Is that right?
Well, I think it's going to be in the ass this time, Ollie.
Oh, shame on you, Tim. The suggestions that the degeneracy inherent in your use of that expression.
Well, let's put it like this. I think it's Kim's time in the barrel. Anybody who knows that old joke will laugh. Anybody who doesn't, fuck them.
Tim's time in the barrel?
Uh-huh, yeah. You never heard that old story about the Cowboys? Nope, never did. Well, see, the thing is that...
I think I did, but please go on.
Yeah. Cowboy was talking about, what do they do for women and so on. He said, oh, well, there's no real problem there. Just go up and put your dick in the barrel. He said, what? Yeah, just put your dick through the bunghole. So he did on Friday night. Boy, it was great. Oh, shit, that was marvelous. He went through this 3 or 4 Friday nights in a row. And then on the next Friday night, a fella came up to him and said, your turn on the barrel.
Yeah. So it's China's turn in the barrel?
China's turn in the barrel. They had expected it to be America's turn in the barrel. Because you may not be old enough, in fact, I know you're not, to remember all the times that we had China's night in the barrel. Such as when they were forced in the 19th century to pay ungodly reparations for the murder of 2 Christian missionaries.
And I'm sure there was hell to pay after the siege of the legations, the Boxers.
Oh yeah, sure, Boxer Rebellion, all that good stuff. And of course the opium concerns, which China has seen to with fentanyl. And they just don't realize the massive population out here that it's China's turn on the barrel. They've got oodle bukus of our debt, oodle buku trading debt as well. And not only us, but it's like every other Western country in the world. And now there's a little voice in the background somewhere talking about how that's not right, that's not nice, that's not how it ought to be.
Yeah, it's moved up the ladder and it's coming out of different mouths. Like you can hear it out of Trey Gowdy and a few other ones who've been on. This would be a way to handle it.
It'd be a hellacious good way to handle it.
Yeah, what are they saying? Things like, they could take it to the International Criminal Court, but then you've got the, the issues of sovereignty, and you could take it to the United Nations, but obviously China has a veto, and you could take it to the courts. And the problem is that what I'm trying to remember the points that were raised with the courts, and how's an individual going to get China to turn over evidence when the rest of the world can't get them to do it? So yeah, the only thing left to do, as we're increasingly hearing, is to hit them in the pocketbooks by taking the one of the unilateral actions that we can in order to make ourselves whole again.
And that'd be Italy and France and Germany and Spain and Great Britain, all of them, probably even Luxembourg. We'll just have to get them to forgive all that debt.
Oh, I could see South Korea and Japan. But now, I mean, obviously something like that would have an enormous impact on China.
Oh.
And so we come back around.
Baby.
We come back around to the business of whether or not knives have been being sharpened for China for quite some time. And it certainly seems with, Bannon off on the borders, so to speak, of the discussion, running around and talking to that Miles Guo guy and, all the stuff that we sort of put on hold for a time. And some of our viewers maybe can even remember back that far. It was all of 3 months ago, where we were talking about Hong Kong and Taiwan and tariffs and,
oh my God,
issues within China. So, yeah, I would like to hear more on this idea of what could happen with the debt and the rest. But I do want to take a moment to deal with a little aside here. And this is something that you hear about on the dissident right all the time. They there are whole categories of the folks over on that side who wish to...
whole categories of folks, yeah.
Yes. And they wish to cast aspersions on those who point at China, because you can see it in the Twitter sphere and the rest. This sort of the usual suspects appear and they start going or China or people showing up. China lied, people died. Their little memes that they're putting forth.
All right, that's good.
And so here is the aside. There is no doubt, I think, in my eyes anyway, that a major element of how all of this business of political correctness and all the commie crap, how it ramped up over this last, what is it, a period of time, as Trump would say, when he doesn't want to get nailed for not remembering the exact number of years or days or whatever. But in this recent period of time, and it seems like it's been happening with since about the time of starting with the Clintons, but really gaining steam, with Obama. But it's been going on the whole time. China has been increasing its wealth and its influence and its capabilities. And as I started to say, I don't doubt that that's a major factor in what's been going on with the rise in all kinds of craziness with political correctness.
Even the Bushes didn't do anything about it, man.
Absolutely. That's why I went back to Clinton, which seems about where it started. And that's around about the time that you see things on unrestricted warfare being mentioned. Are you your camera popping in and out there?
Looks like it, but the camera doesn't seem to be doing anything. I don't know.
It's something digital. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to stop the discussion with Tim right at this point. Hopefully his face will continue to be with us, and we'll only see it dropping out occasionally, if in fact that artifact is present in the recording. Anyway, I want to get back to the debt thing, but I do want to stop and say, they have a point, the dissident right folks, of saying, it's really convenient to point it just now at China, but there are all kinds of issues within our own countries. There are groups or parties who want to see the whole thing march forward. I mean, after all, if you look at like the Diana West stuff, you can see that after World War II, there were all sorts of forces of commies, Alger Hiss types in the State Department who did everything they could to make sure that the Kuomintang and Chiang Kai-shek and those types of people got the shit-covered short end of the stick, and that Mao came out ahead because they wanted to see that communism.
Yeah.
And we saw that before that with the Russian Revolution, that there were Western powers behind that. And, the Fabians do have a little icon of a wolf in sheep's clothing. There is a history. There is a trajectory.
Yeah.
So I do want to come back to the thing of China and the debt.
Oh, okay.
But I want to ask your thoughts on this business of, just pointing to the Chinese like they're the only ones who are behind this, when in fact the argument could be made that they were only put in place because other forces of progress decided long back with their long game to put them into a position to do this.
Oh, you put the pebble just here on the board. Okay. What else is new?
So I guess the idea is that by taking China down a notch, in addition to all the other things that we gained by doing so, we also cut an engine of money and influence away from the very forces.
The world stage. Because China is going to have to forgive the debt or look like a real motherfucker.
And this could well be, the business with the EU and COVID-19 following Brexit. This really could be where the singer gets her voice pitched just right and the glass shatters.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just got to give Trump enough time to get the rest of the world in line. Which I think he's pretty much doing.
Well, I think he's taken advantage of his daily press. That's another thing. I was like, are they going to stop with the rallies? And you're like, oh no, he won't. And I'm thinking to myself, well, then how is he going to do it? And I guess we saw how he did it. First thing he does is
our boy.
He locks the entire country into their houses, so to speak. Honestly, he lets the states do it so they can carry the resentment. And he just gets up there and gets them for at least an hour daily. And
yeah, it's having a great effect, don't you think?
It does seem to be.
There ain't no getting around Trump's businessman.
Yeah, he's a little more than that. He's cunning on a level that we have not gotten to see for quite some time.
Not in a politician.
Yeah, not in a president, certainly.
LBJ came close, but no cigar.
So do you think it's actually the case that you've got a nuclear-armed big-ass nation with considerable power. What happens when everybody gets put into line, so to speak, if it happens with Trump, saying let's all go after China, and they go, well, no, I'm not really sure I want to, and he's like, I don't care, let's go after China, right? What does China do? Surely it has other sabers fit for rattling.
Oh, it can rattle them all at once. rattle them all at once, but it does not. Do you remember the discussions about the Southeast Asian Treaty Organization?
Perhaps tell me more so that I can give you a final read on whether I do.
Well, about a year ago, there was some talk about putting together a CETO. What they didn't realize is that CETO has been around for a long time. It's just that we've been carrying the major load of it. I've even got stamps that say CETO on there.
Right. It would seem that the Trans-Pacific Partnership would be some global species of revisiting that idea.
Oh, my God. On top of which
is
you've
really
got
just
all the nations.
Greater
Go
Asian.
ahead.
It's really just a greater Asian co-prosperity sphere, right?
Also. Yeah. But the thing is that China doesn't understand. It understands too well some things, but it doesn't understand that it doesn't have what we do, which is like nuclear-powered submarines that contain in one submarine enough nuclear weapons to destroy the entire world, much less Beijing. Got bunker buster missiles in there that will go down several hundred feet and then explode. A nuclear explosion.
Yeah, and they got that whole, it has been suggested that there's that whole rods from God thing, where you just drop the really dense rods out of space.
Sure.
And set their trajectory up, and they get such velocity that, you don't have any issues with nuclear
much like
radiation.
Heinlein's boulders. You ever read The Moon is a Harsh Mistress?
Yeah. It occurs to me that, that's your business of dropping rocks down the gravity well from the moon.
Yeah. Ooh.
It's an old Robert Heinlein. Yes, I grok. I do indeed.
Yeah, I grok it myself.
I grok.
At any rate, the thing is that there are so many ways that, let's put it like this. One good rock from space would take out an area big enough to fit all of China's Navy in. This is why China has gotten a little group of seamen that are part of the Chinese Navy, but aren't part of the Chinese Navy. They're Chinese fishermen. Yeah, I've got news for them. No. The whole thing is fixing to turn on the fact that we've got everything we need to bring them to their knees in any number of ways.
What's the one way that they could do something? It would be some of these asymmetrical warfare moves, and notable among them would be the business of, for example, using a virus or some other kind of biological weapon. And yet we've moved into a position.
Only if everybody lets them in.
Right. And I was just about to jump to that. The idea that as we keep hearing people squawk about the idea that we better close the borders, we don't want to start things back up only to have someone come from outside with some new virus, reintroduce it to us. That theme is being pushed, and we've certainly
Interesting that the FBI corralled a number of people who were carrying things to China. Scientists who were carrying viruses.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Nobody noticed.
Well, some did, yes. You're not going to hear about it much in the MSM, but some of the Fox people talked about it, and it was definitely all over Twitter, and I think we talked about it at least once, maybe.
I wouldn't doubt it, but then we're such a small voice.
So I guess that could be a part of the picture too. There is the business of how the thing originated, and they could very well end up with one of these situations like we saw with Saddam Hussein. or any of these other people, where they're forced to prove a negative.
I don't know. Do they grow dates in China?
Right. The point being, prove you didn't release it from a biolab.
Ooh, ooh,
And then
ooh,
how do they?
ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, Han.
Wuhan.
It just seems to me that there are still many ways in which China could, pull things that allow them to wiggle out of it or apply influence.
What?
I'm trying to think it through. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Keep going in that direction, son. You let me know. You let me know what you come up with. Come back around when you thought of something.
Well, I've thought of many things. The one is they say, no, we are not going to do this. In which case, the world has to decide, yes, you are. Which is kind of what China's already doing.
Yes, attempting to anticipate and mitigate with its strategy of, deliveries of personal protective equipment.
Mm-hmm. That ain't gonna cut it. Because some of that turned out to be faulty. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of shit going around with that right now. Stuff being sent back. There was also one with tests that were sent to, but I don't think it was out of China, but some tests might have been.
Yeah.
There's tests that were sent to Britain. Well, no, there were a lot of tests that didn't work that went to various places that came out of China.
Yeah.
But there was also, I think it was out of Belgium or maybe Luxembourg, where some tests got sent to Britain and they were actually contaminated with the, coronavirus.
Wuhan virus, sure. Wuhan virus, CCP virus. I refuse to call it Corona. Because after all, Corona's fairly good beer.
No, it's not.
I know.
No, God, no.
Well, come on now.
I mean, Corona's never touched your lips, Tim.
You're right. It never
Ever.
has.
I mean, I'm thinking to myself, I saw you drink a thimble full of wine, was it?
Port.
Yeah, literally a thimble full in 30 years.
Well, it was 2 ounces.
All right, well, I saw you drink that much alcohol once in 30 years, and you're like telling me Corona's a good beer. Whatever. Okay, so
All right.
Yeah, we're looking at how some of this could be brought down on China, but that's gonna just you could see the way that they're shaking the tree to make sure that all their little creatures start dropping things out of it. When it comes to something being mentioned about China or this and that. Like I saw a guy who got brought on the Joe Rogan show to be, a semi-cool, accessible doctor who's going to tell you what you need to know about coronavirus. And you could see all of them dodging around. I mean, not just him, but he's one example of it. And all the rest of them certainly as well. You can see them dodging around saying anything about China. They're our great partners. It's the same kind of shit that you hear out of like an NBC or whatever. They've done such a great job. Or like the that really strange Chinese woman who's in charge of health in Canada who has that Death Star all black outfit. But she looks like some Cambodian commissar. She's just a horror show. But she's talking about bringing the Chinese techniques for public health to bear on Canada in order to save them.
Well, those doors shut on the apartments.
So, so many powerful people are still joined at the hip with China, as we can see, because when China snaps their fingers, a lot of them are going to fall, doesn't it? Yeah, and that's what causes me to hesitate with crediting, perhaps, if not the thrust and the general picture that you present, its extent. It causes me to kind of draw back at the extent of it because.
What about Mr. Barr and Mr. Durham?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, okay.
Well, we could be set for a spring renewal, I suppose.
Ooh.
There's plenty more coming out about that business. I guess you saw the stuff with the Woods procedures not being followed in something like 32 out of 40 or 29 out of 32, whatever it is. It's the overwhelming majority of cases. There'd been no Woods procedure, which is a review of the material to confirm that it was reliable. And
Ollie, you can't mean it.
like literally, there are a bunch of defense attorneys around the country whose clients have gotten convictions from the FBI who are like paying close attention because they're going to have to barf back up like a big ass hairball. All kinds of convictions, like at scale.
Yeah. There'll be a lot of deals made.
Well, you've been saying that for 3 years now, but I mean, it looks like they're...
And there have been.
And it looks like they're zeroing in on Brennan quite nicely now. There have been...
That's a good move.
Several
He
people...
is such a sparkling target.
Oh, my God, that Lurch face. You remember Lurch from was it the Addams Family?
Sure do. Yeah, Addams Family.
What a...
Mysterious and spooky. We're out together. The Addams Family. Hey.
Yeah, he's got that look.
Yeah,
he looks like
he has, hasn't he?
He frankly should have been cast in Frankenstein. Couldn't you see him in like Young Frankenstein with like
sure
faux bolts attached to his neck and forehead? He's a fucking piece of work, man.
Yeah, he is. He is. He really is. Oh, well. CIA's done better.
I should say so. But for people who don't know, the more recent news to which Tim and I refer, what is it? A number of people who have gone in to see Durham and have been asked about things have come out and said publicly on the record that a lot of the questions were about Brennan. Isn't that the way that we know now? And if they bring that pressure to bear on Brennan, then they're 1 degree of separation from, for example, a Hillary Clinton or a Barack Obama.
Yeah.
All speculation, ladies and gentlemen, I should add. Basically, everything that ever comes out of my mouth or Tim's, it's all speculation, and you should believe none of it.
None of it. None of it. None of it at all.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yes, indeed.
So what do you see happening next then? Can you lay out the pieces of this for us? I mean, we have the general picture, right? Trump gets everybody in line. The ducks are in a row. No, China, we're not giving it to you. China says, woof, woof, woof. I woof at you. Woof, woof. And Trump says, selling woof tickets doesn't work because we've got all these countries lined up. What does China do to try to push back?
China can't. It's going to cave in.
The nature of the caving in, it's going to be one of those things where you took out the keystone. Like if it goes that way, and there have been a number of respects in which you've been plotting this trajectory, speculatively, extrapolating. As regards the EU, as regards the forces aligned against Trump here, your Trudeau types and your whatever her fucking name is in New Zealand, these kind of people. A prime minister down that way who has a thing for headscarves. They all love to play dress up.
They do.
Not that, I mean, personally.
Just look at Trudeau. He loves dress up.
Yes, he does. Blackface or doing his Slumdog Millionaire look. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they pull the lever to try to react. It doesn't work. Shit starts to fall apart. The sky is falling. Durham. All of it timed, it would seem, for the upcoming election.
The election!
Yeah. Some of it before. A fair amount of it shortly thereafter. But what am I missing here? What are the stages? What can we expect to see? What are the pieces? What are the areas where this articulates that maybe I'm not seeing beyond this general picture?
Well, you got to see that there's going to be a big forgiveness of U.S. debt. There's going to be a big forgiveness of everything involving the United States and all the rest of the countries of the world, because China has tried to set a debt trap, a much smoother debt trap, they thought, than any just straight out loaning money to countries.
You mean the one that they've been working on for
Sri Lanka,
20 30 years?
Yeah, yeah, much smoother debt trap. They had to get enough money in one spot with the debt trap to be, in their estimation, the leverage needed to snap everybody into line. They even sent Chinese over here to buy up real estate. Why do you think it is that just a random house in
Vancouver, right?
yeah, sure, or
Seattle or Portland, yeah.
yeah, sure. Why do you think they cost millions of dollars? It ain't like we're paying that. Chinese, they're using plenty buku money. Come on, man. Smell the coffee.
Well, they've done it with entertainment and media, clearly. I mean, the way in which the people hop and dance.
Those are just piss ants.
Right.
All that can be wiped out in a minute.
Well, if anything is going to eventuate as you're setting forth on the stage of speculation, then yeah, they're gonna go fast.
I like the way you said that, on the stage of speculation.
Because it's all nothing but speculation.
Oh, nothing but speculation. Absolutely. Yes, speculation. Humpha.
So they've been setting their debt trap for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
The best laid plans of Mao and men.
Oft gang after glad.
What did you just say?
Oft gang aft a glay.
Oft gang after glad.
That's the original quote.
I thought it was off go awry or something of that sort.
Well, that's another way to say oft gang aft glay.
And
you got to remember that the fellow who said that originally had a large Scottish thing to him.
Okay. So is that Burns or some Burns?
Oh.
Is that right?
Oh, I believe so.
Maybe.
Bobby
Okay.
Burns.
All right. So, yeah, it'd be some sort of...
Another way to say that is there's many a slip twixt cup and lip.
So anyway, yes, apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Coming back to the point, yeah.
It's called off gang after glay there, bub. They're going to glay that motherfucker like a no... Phew. Boy. It's going to be tough on the Chinese.
Yeah, but now you're talking about having the party with its back up against the wall to the extent that they have everything to lose. I mean, surely at that point they pull some other lever, which is, why I jumped to the thing of asymmetrical warfare and the idea of if they could release some sort of biological something. But that's precisely what we've been tuned up to have the public ready to respond to, and maybe we can close our borders to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, think about, for example, Trump does decide to lift the quarantine, right? Or whatever, to whatever extent it is one, right? And to whatever extent he's involved, because he's left it up to the governors. But let's say, for example, China sees this coming, and they would have to, by this point, if in fact that's what's going on, they see it coming.
Why do you
bigly.
think?
Just let me get this little part out. Pardon me.
All right, go on.
Trump says, okay, yeah, we're now at the point where we think that we can go ahead and ease up on the shelter-in-place business. And all China does is wait for that to happen. It all seems to be starting again. And then they send 4 people to cough on everything and blow snot on people with a highly contagious version of it. And it appears out of nowhere and turns into a real whatever in one spot or another. And they say it's because Trump, you let the thing, you stopped the lockdown. You should have kept it going till June. And they've already set the stage for that. What's to stop them doing that?
Quite a few things. The first thing is that Trump has not lifted the quarantine. That's where you're wrong. Trump has not lifted the quarantine.
Well, I hadn't said he is, but he's looking at...
I know that. On top of which, there is a brand new piece of legislation that they blew the dust off of from back in the 50s that says the president can, golly gee, refuse to allow admission to anybody if he deems it just, if he deems it necessary.
Yeah, I'm just. How many people do you think the Chinese already have in the country who can do? I mean, they've got thousands and thousands.
Certainly, which is why the shelter-in-place order is a lot more comprehensive than one might think. One of the things they've got to do is they've got to keep New York, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, and Portland under the gun. At the same time, to try to bring certain towns in Arizona under the gun. And I am fairly certain that our FBI and Homeland Security operators are very busy in those areas.
And the reason for the focus on those areas being presumably that there's a lot of Chinese people in them? Again, all speculation, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, whether they're Chinese or not, they have any number of contacts with the Chinese.
Sure, there are all kinds of people who could basically pull off a scenario like I'm talking about, and all they would need is access to a pathogen to spread. In this case, it would be most appropriate to be some, seemingly natural mutation of,
Sure.
SARS-2 or corona.
No.
And they wouldn't have to do it in Portland or wherever. They could just get in a car and drive over to wherever,
Wherever has to have enough population to get it going.
Well, all right. I'll grant you that.
What you can't have is like in bumfuck Arizona, population 5,220.
Right, or even the higher population areas where everybody has their own footprint in their own house, particularly places like Arizona, where you're going to see large amount of like air conditioning and the rest. People are in their houses, it's dry, low humidity.
My goodness gracious, Ollie. You don't suppose they're pretty much stuck with New York, Chicago, Louisiana,
I was about to say New Orleans.
Yeah, the only thing is New Orleans is like, it's gone past flatten. It's headed down.
And the big issue there is that if Trump handles it right, then in each of those places, what you have is a long-standing, blue government that is there waiting to take the blame for anything that comes if Trump handles it right. But still, that concerns me. That angle of it concerns me.
Nah, shouldn't.
Well, if it shouldn't, then why, in your example, are we looking at a situation where a lot of the intelligence services and the rest and security services are staying really busy right now, as you yourself just pointed out?
Because they're taking the people into custody or keeping them under surveillance. And the first time they step across the line, they go, whoa, chunk, handcuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, you gotta.
There's not even a Miranda warning involved in that.
Yeah, I'm
because
sure.
It's
the Patriot
Homeland
Act.
Security.
Right. Patriot Act. I mean, I grant you, if you get most of them, it's probably enough because you've got differing skills and expertise and access to materials and training and all that kind of shit. But
believe me, they've been watching them.
But you have to get most of them at least.
They will. I've got faith in them. There is nothing that likes a good right-wing goose step as much as our Homeland Security operators do. Purely speculative, you understand?
Yes, indeed. Well, then, turning to that, we have a little bit of time left, about 10 minutes left. I don't know, somewhere in there. Continuing to talk about nothing. Perhaps we can turn
nothing.
to the nothing topic of the ways in which it seems the powers that be are looking at using a unified global public health response, or at a minimum, somewhat integrated individual national responses as a basis to unite all under heaven in the way that they had hoped to with the Green New Deal, but have as yet been unable to. We've got all this business out there of, drones following people around, people not being able to go to church, people getting arrested for like paddle boarding in the surf by themselves. They're just all over the joint. This seems to be the moment at which they wish to usher in all of their most cherished utopian social engineering projects. And there's a lot of it. We're certainly seeing it in the UK. We're seeing it in the United States. And it's not like this sort of thinking and this sort of implementation wasn't already going quite far in the EU to start with. What do you make of the prospects for that? I've got a clip that I'm busy writing now that has to do with this new priesthood, with the idea of public health and the way in which those who wear the white coats of them that know are justified in telling us what we can and cannot do. It hurts them as much as it hurts us, and by gum, it's for our own good. They speak dog Latin, and they have all the same sort of Mandarin infighting that you would see with the priesthood in the past. And it seems that they're trying to leverage, which is just a brought down.
Have you noticed that Dr. Fauci is not getting quite the standing ovations he used to get?
No, he's getting pushed. And I noticed Burke's getting up there talking about how, hydroxychloroquine is nice, but what we've got to do is remember that there are other options too, like remdesivir or whatever, made by Gilead Pharmaceuticals. And I'm like, how much fucking product placement do we need in your public addresses, lady? So she's not looking all that good either.
Ooh. You may have noticed that Trump is setting up a secondary task force
related to
Wuhan virus, of course, CCP virus.
Oh, you're talking about the coming fight, which will be like investigating the virus. And in one case, Trump's case, it'll be investigating China and anybody who pissed him off in the U.S. And then on the other side of the aisle, it will be investigating Trump under color of investigating the virus.
No, actually, this is where Mr. Trump is setting up. He thinks maybe, kind of. He could be setting up a secondary task force. He's going to need some people for that, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm just still trying to get my some sort of sharpened understanding of the task force is on what. It's going to be to look into this virus and how it ended up here.
But nobody's really said yet.
Oh yeah, well I haven't caught the
White House. It's a White House task force.
Yeah, I haven't.
Not congressionally controlled.
I have not seen the last few of these.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Where he gets up and does his hour-long thing. I skipped the last couple. I probably shouldn't have.
It doesn't matter. It's all going according to place the pebble on the board. And he's going to move Fauci and this wonderful woman over to that, or move the secondary task force up front, leaving Fauci and the rest to burble in their own bullshit. It's coming, Ollie. It's coming.
All right. Well, this is the point.
Just have to have patience.
This is the point at which everybody, and I think unfairly, as I pointed out in the past, I think unfairly, people accuse us of, the Q playbook and us saying trust the plan. Of course, as I pointed out in the past, I
don't trust anything, man.
We set forth these ideas to whatever extent they sound similar to Q. They were set forth in large part by you. Well before Q ever appeared, and that can actually be established by looking at old videos. Good. But so, yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
But you're telling us trust the plan.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you trust nothing. Nothing at all.
Well, then what about saying it all seems to be coming together? I mean, you strike me as
coming together.
George Papard with those black driving gloves, from the A-Team, saying, I love it when a plan comes together with the cigar.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not my plan. It's Trump's plan. And it's coming together. I'm an anarchist, man. I don't believe in any of this shit. As far as I'm concerned, it could all curl up in a little ball and just rot. It doesn't mean shit. The Chinese, with their machinations, and Trump with his machinations, are really nothing more than the machinations of two separate groups, with us caught in the middle. Haven't you noticed that?
Yes, I've articulated the business of all this big COVID-19 shit as being a fulcrum everybody's trying to get their lever up onto. But the big question for me is, are the ends of these two groups really meaningfully different?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Because we got
with
the Chinese commie utopians, Fabian style, church of state, public health, nanny bitches, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's on the other side?
Same thing, just with a different flag.
I just made the point about how are they attempting to do
no. You got to understand. It's the peripheral stuff that matters. Trump is all about capitalism. Now, the question to be answered is really, what kind of capitalism? Is it to be the sort that is run by a central authority? Is it the sort that's to be done laissez-faire? Is it the sort that's to be done in this way or that way? Come on, man. Take a look at it. It's the peripheral stuff. The communist nonsense we already know about completely, and we don't like. Trump's take on capitalism, we don't know about, but we don't know if we like it or not. I'm for looking at what he wants. Who profits? Cui bono? Well, the communists, I know it's Communist Party. And their president. Yay.
Right, in whichever nation is under consideration, sure.
Sure. I don't know if Trump's vision of capitalism is like mine or not. I literally don't know. He's thrown so much sand and so much dust in the air, it's hard to tell.
All right, he's checked
I am not privy to their inner machinations, the end result of all this.
Right, so you have to deal with it just like anybody else would when they throw a smoke grenade down to cover their maneuver. Right?
Exactly. My thing is, I've seen smoke grenades before. And depending on where they throw it, I know pretty much where they're going to go. Because you don't throw a smoke grenade where you don't need the smoke.
Right. So, yes, it would seem that there are some variations then to what's on offer. But the central notion is that it's nanny state all day long. You said it in the past, socialism, socialism, socialism. You ain't got to like it. That's the future is increasingly, at least socialistic shit. And it's going to be impossible for us to get out from under it. I don't know. I just, at every turn.
I wouldn't say impossible, but that's all right.
Well, yes. Yes. It just seems that. I feel black-pilled today, Tim. I don't feel white-pilled, as they say. I feel black-pilled looking at it. I mean, I have my ups and downs, and tomorrow I'll probably spring back, I'm just not as spry a young buck as I once was, and it's easier for the weight of the world to settle upon my shoulders and color everything that I see with shit-colored glasses.
Well, there you are. I, on the other hand, am a young and spry fellow who sees nothing wrong with basically telling Trump and everybody else in the fucking world to kiss my ass.